You know, deep in the heart of Florida, there's a community of indigenous people who have never surrendered. They've never signed a peace treaty, and really, their most profound request is just to be left alone. So today, we're going to uncover the story of their incredible 500-year fight for sovereignty, all on their own terms.
Okay, so imagine this. You're driving down some packed dirt road, totally surrounded by the dense Florida swamp, and you come across this. A series of handwritten signs. One says, "If you do not live here, do not enter." And another one gets even more direct. "If you do not like the people living here, stay the hell away from here." This isn't just some warning. It's a gateway into the world of an American Indian clan that most people have never heard of. And it's the start of a story of profound, centuries-long resistance.
So once you're past those signs, you've arrived at the village of the Billy clan. They're one of just a handful of clans that make up what's known as the independent, traditional Seminole Nation. You know, until a fire a few years back brought all this unwanted attention from county officials. Almost no one even knew they were here, and honestly, that's exactly how they wanted it.
Life in this place is a really fascinating mix. I mean, people live in these traditional thatch-roofed huts called chickees, and they cook over a central fire. But right alongside all these ancient customs, you'll find stuff like running water from an outdoor hose, a fax machine, a TV playing soap operas, and a bunch of pickup trucks parked nearby. It's this place where tradition and the modern world don't just coexist, they kind of collide.
Now here's a crucial point. The traditional Seminoles are not recognized by the U.S. federal government, and that means they get none of the benefits or programs that other recognized tribes do. But and this is so important, they wouldn't have it any other way. For them, federal recognition is totally irrelevant. Why? Because their sovereignty, as they see it, doesn't come from a government. They say, the Creator recognizes us, and that's all that matters.
To really get a handle on this fierce independence, we have to go back, way back, to their very beginnings. Their story is just one of constant struggle to hold on to who they are against some pretty overwhelming forces. So their ancestors were originally members of the Creek Confederacy. They fled south into what was then Spanish Florida, mostly to escape encroaching American colonists. And the name Seminole, well, it actually comes from a word that means runaway or wild ones. Down in Florida, they created a whole new independent society, one that famously gave sanctuary to runaway black slaves, who then became part of their community.
This independence absolutely infuriated the United States. For almost 40 years, the U.S. government waged these brutal wars to try and force them off their land. Under amazing leaders like Osceola, the Seminoles fought this brilliant guerrilla campaign right there in the swamps. They just refused to be defeated or removed. By the time the U.S. finally gave up, a small, defiant band was still there, completely unconquered.
And the cost of that fight? It was absolutely staggering. The Second Seminole War alone cost the U.S. government $40 million. I mean, that's a massive, massive sum in the 1840s. Get this, 50,000 American soldiers were up against just 1,500 Seminole warriors. It ended up being one of the costliest and, frankly, least successful wars in American history, a conflict the U.S. never really won. So, fast forward to the mid-20th century. The descendants of those unconquered warriors found themselves facing a whole new kind of battle. This time, it wasn't with guns, but with money and politics. And the decision they had to make would end up splitting the Seminole people, setting them on two completely different paths.
The U.S. government created something called the Indian Claims Commission to settle all these land disputes. But there was a catch. Of course there was. The commission could only offer money for stolen land. It couldn't actually give the land back. So the Seminoles were offered millions of dollars to basically extinguish their claim to nearly all of Florida.
For the traditionalists, this was just unthinkable. And this quote from their spokesman, Buffalo Tiger, it just captures their views so perfectly. To them, the land is a sacred relative. It's like a mother. You just can't sell it, not for any price. So they refuse the money. And by refusing the money, they refuse to give up their identity as caretakers of that land. And that choice, well, it created a really deep division. The people who accepted the money and formed these federally approved tribal governments went one way. The traditionalists who refused, they went another. And while they all still see themselves as the same people, their worlds today could not be more different.
Yeah, the divide is really stark. You've got the federally recognized tribes on one side, with their reservation land and huge economic ventures like casinos. And on the other side, you have the independent traditionals. They're still landless, living a subsistence lifestyle, and governing themselves by consensus, completely outside the federal system.
You know, both groups really see their path as a strategy for survival.
This quote from the former chairman of the federally recognized Seminole tribe kind of acknowledges their shared roots, even though their paths have gone in such different directions. One group chose economic integration to survive, while the other chose cultural isolation.
So for the traditionalists, that war never really ended. Their fight today isn't against soldiers, it's against the modern world itself, a world that is constantly encroaching on their right to just exist according to their own laws.
And the pressures they face are just relentless. They've been cited for building their traditional chikis without permits. They faced massive fines for their central cooking fire, which is literally the heart of their community. When they refuse to reveal sacred cultural details to government bureaucrats, they're denied legal acknowledgement. It's just this constant struggle against a system that has no box to put them in.
As caretakers of the land, they see the pollution and the development that's destroying the Everglades as a direct threat to their own survival. And for the panther clan, the fact that the Florida panther is nearly extinct isn't just some ecological tragedy, it's like losing a close relative. It's a mirror of their own fight to survive in a world that's getting smaller and smaller.
There's this really powerful analogy that's been passed down from their elders, and it does such a good job of explaining the core of their philosophy and this stark choice that they see in front of them.
They say their way of life is like a clay cup. It's precious, it's ancient, and it requires constant, deliberate care. It's meaningful, but it's also fragile. By contrast, the modern way is a styrofoam cup. It's convenient, it's disposable, you use it once, and you just throw it away without a second thought. This really frames their whole struggle as a fight to protect something of immense, truly irreplaceable value.
And in the end, one of their leaders, Danny Billy, he reframes their entire struggle with this one powerful question. He suggests that their fight to live in balance with nature, it's not just about them, it's about all of us. He asks, when you ask what we want, you might as well go ahead and include yourself. Don't you want to survive too? I mean, if the world that sustains them is destroyed, what kind of future is left for any of us?